What's up, heathens? How y'all doing? Today we're going to be talking about how volcanoes don't exist. And today's video is brought to you by our merch shelf down below, where you can get cool shirts like this, as well as Got Evidence and the Heathen shirt. So if you want some of these types of shirts and show your support for the channel, hit up that merch shelf that's right below this video. Alright, so today we're talking about how volcanoes don't exist, and this is going to be primarily just a talking head video with, some images that are going to be popping up. But these were a series of posts made by this guy named Mike on Facebook, and he first appeared on Reddit, where I found him, and he actually made an appearance in one of the comments videos, but I wanted to take a closer look at what he actually has to say about this topic. So, we're going to go through his post today and see what his evidence is that volcanoes don't exist. What we're going to do is he's got a total of 5 posts with some extra ones where he adds more crazy onto his whole theory. Let's go on ahead and jump into the first post, which we've already read, but we're going to go over again. Volcanoes are fake by Mike. Part 1. Introduction. There are no volcanoes on flat Earth. Flat Earth has no magma nor lava. Volcanoes are actually ancient mining waste piles manipulated to look like volcanoes. I realize this sounds crazy, but I will prove it in parts to follow. They fake volcanoes to get us to believe the Earth is round. I will try to present my evidence in a logical order from the beginning, with my best stuff to come later. This is all my original work, and I made all the photo exhibits I will present. As an offer of proof to entice you to follow this, here are a few exhibits to get it started. So he provides us with a few pictures, which we're going to go over here in a second, but I would like to say I don't understand why we would need to fake volcanoes in order to prove that the Earth is round. I feel like even if the Earth was flat, volcanoes would possibly still be a thing. And lava would still be a thing, because lava is just, rocks and minerals and everything like that heated up to extreme temperatures to where they're like liquidy, So I don't see why that is necessary, like doing all that is necessary to believe in a globe Earth. And I get that you accept that it sounds crazy, but you say that you'll prove it. And his proof comes in the form of these pictures. So, basically, this picture right here is just of, volcanoes and then these, mining dump piles or whatever, these heaps. And yeah, they're gonna look similar to mountains, because mountains are just minerals and rocks and all that other shit piled on top of each other, and due to the force of gravity, it makes a certain shape, just like with the piles from the mining sites. So yeah, they look similar, but mountains and shit are way different than these mining heaps. And he goes through more, here's the Mount St. Helens versus another, I guess, was that spoil tip something in the Ukraine? I don't know if that's a slag heap or something. Here's another example, and he goes through these examples with it. And then we get to post 2. Part 2. Modern day mining waste piles. Mining creates waste piles. They are commonly called slag heaps, spoil tips, tailings piles, etc. These piles are the material left over after they mine out the ore. Many modern day piles are as big as mountains. Ancient mining piles are most of today's mountains and volcanoes. How would you actually go about proving that? For one thing, you would have to prove that ancient mining actually existed in the form that it exists today, and that they were able to produce those big ancient slag heaps or whatever, which I don't think that there's actually evidence for. At least I haven't found any evidence for that. True, there are various mining things that we can find in history, but I don't think that it's at none of those are at the technological level that we have today that would build these giant slag heaps. There is no plate tectonics in mountain building. That's not true. I mean, the mountains today, they grow at a certain rate, and we can detect that rate. We've measured that rate. We've been able to use the predictive nature of geology in order to predict what we would find in mountains or whatnot, or where mountains mountains came from and whatever, and what to find like on mountains and everything. So you're just, this just has no basis in reality. There's no actual evidence to support your whole idea that there are no plate tectonics. Those are actually things. First, let's look at some examples of what modern day mining operations look like. I was able to get this. Like that, I just screen capped his post of the pictures. These are just mining operations. It looks like somebody has carved out a mountain range or whatnot, because that's what's happened. People have carved on these mountains or whatnot because they're mining shit. But this can also happen with just wind and rain erosion. That's how like mountains are shaped, mountain ranges are shaped, and everything like that. So just because there are people that can do this doesn't mean that that is how it happened in the past. And that seems to be what he's confusing here. And then we get number 3. They get progressively shorter, if you can tell. Part 3, the world is a quarry. In ancient times, the earth was a giant quarry, including the oceans. The oceans are filled in quarries. And then he has this posted as evidence of that. And I'm guessing it's just because like on these particular representations, it looks like the continents have been carved out or something. But at the same time, I don't think that this actually represents like what it actually looks like on the earth, because I mean, they're showing the continents being very protruding and whatnot. And I think that this is just like an easy representation of the depths of the ocean without the water. But I mean, you have to understand that the continents were not carved out due to plate tectonics and the shifting of the plates on the earth. The continents have formed in the way that they are today. They have not been carved out. There's nothing to suggest that the entire world was a quarry. I don't understand how you would even go about proving that, but these pictures definitely don't prove that. And then part 4, volcanoes versus mining waste piles. Now he's repeating himself, I guess. Show me a volcano and I can show you a mining pile that looks exactly like it. Less the crater, of course, made by directed energy weapon. Okay, now we're getting in the directed energy weapon conspiracies in on this. The dew is what creates the so-called ash clouds. I will get into that, how that works later. And he does. He does, and we'll go over that here in a second. Here's, again, his evidence, which is just a repeat of the evidence prior. I'm really interested in how the directed energy weapons come into play here. So basically, here's the volcano versus laser drilling, and he's comparing the laser drilling to the sparks and shit that happen with volcanoes and everything like that. While they look the same, they are not produced in the same way. So this is just a baseless assertion that they are exactly the same thing. Just because they look the same doesn't mean that they are exactly the same. Here he has his examples of dew clouds, or directed energy weapon clouds, which apparently those are where lasers have created these like volcanic and ash clouds and whatnot, dating all the way back to World War I. Apparently. I don't know if he lives in the Wolfenstein kind of reality where the Nazis have developed these technologies like back in the 1950s or something like that. Or, well, World War I would have been like 1917. So that's even prior to like the Wolfenstein type of universe. I don't understand what kind of actual evidence he has other than, hey, look, here are some ashy clouds and some like chemical warfare shit from World War I and a forest fire. Apparently, those are all directed energy clouds. They were created by lasers, motherfuckers. And then apparently he has some evidence of dew holes, which are I guess where the directed energy weapon actually hit the ground. And I'm not exactly sure. Like, this says lava fields. I don't know. Maybe that's where something erupted and like the lava bombs or whatnot hit or whatever. It doesn't really matter like what actually created these little potholes or whatnot. The fact is that when something that's round, or not even round, but just when an object collides, on the surface of like a planet or something, it's gonna make those type of holes. So this evidence right here doesn't actually entail that a directed energy weapon made those things. You would need a lot more evidence to suggest that. All right. Number 5, how they fake volcano eruptions. In the part, I will explain how they fake volcano eruptions. Several methods are used to fake the various scenes we see, including directed energy, mining, explosive CGI, and Disneyland-style setups. And then he's got supposed evidence for this. And that's just a bunch of pictures of volcanoes erupting. And then, like, some other things down there that I can't really tell what he's even on about. Like, this is not evidence of any of this. Like, I get that he's saying that it's like CGI and Disneyland shit, but these are ash clouds and everything that we can actually measure. This is not CGI. Here's the thing. He also goes on to say that, see, the calling card of the ancient hydraulic miners, the elephant. Apparently, because there are some rock formations that resemble an elephant, that means that elephants were used in these these ancient mining, hydraulic miners. And it's because they use water and everything when they're doing all the mining and shit like that. Like, water's a pretty big tool that they use. And because we squirt it, like, out of hoses, and elephants squirt water out of their noses, that means that ancient miners used elephants for the purpose of mining. For one thing, pareidolia doesn't prove anything there, bud. Also, elephants being used for ancient mining? What? Oh, and also he doesn't think that comets and asteroids and all that, all the junk that's flying around in space, those apparently don't exist because those are made by laser micromachining or lasers, not micromachining, but like lasers. Because when he's got a picture right here of a laser micromachining thing that has made like a circle, and of course craters are in the shape of circles. And so basically he uses pareidolia and these wild, outlandish equivalences just because they look similar in order to prove his point. So I promised you guys that I would do like a full type of video on his whole idea about how volcanoes are fake. But it seems like the whole reason why he thinks that they are fake is just that other things resemble what we see in volcanoes. Therefore, they're faked by the government, the NWO, whatever, using directed like energy weapons and Disneyland CGI. This has so little evidence behind it other than just pictures that it's amazing to me that people are actually convinced by this, because his posts have a lot of attention on them and a lot of people in the comments that are supportive of his whole idea. And I don't understand why. I don't understand why this convinces people. It's just amazing to me. Anyways, that's why volcanoes don't exist, guys. Let me know what you think about his evidence down in the description below. His evidence. While you're down there, make sure you smash that like button and subscribe if you like this kind of conspiracy-laden shit. Anyways, I'll see you heathens later. Don't forget to stand up, use your voice, and all that kind of good shit.